It's match day. Play fantasy cricket now. Get up to 2.5 crores daily and lots more. 20 times more. Win big on FanFight. This game involves an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk.
My guest on Inspiration today is someone who has actually had a telling impact on the West Indian game and also on the way we think about our cricket in the last few years. One of the best all-rounders in the world, and most importantly, one of the best leaders in our game, Jason Holder. Jason, welcome, and thanks for giving your time. Last year, when you joined the Sunrisers Hyderabad, you had telling impact. And over the last few years, the way I have seen you evolve as leader and as player, what is it that you have done to your game? Are you more confident? Is it that, over the years, it's because of experience? Because Jason Holder now, in any team, is a match winner. What's the change that you brought into your game?
Well, firstly, good afternoon to you. Thanks for having me. I would probably say it's just been experience. I've gained knowledge, along the way, growing. Different scenarios, different opportunities have presented itself. And, I've been able to grow and understand my game and understand myself a lot better. I think that goes a long way into executing your overall plans. And for me, I had to sit and really think about how I wanted to go about playing, and really understand myself when I'm under pressure. And I think once you do that, then you know how to cope with it. So for me, it was a lot of soul searching, a lot of thinking, deep analysis, and just finding out, what works best for me personally.
I have followed almost all your games very closely. What is also, and I'll break it down. What is very interesting for me is when you started batting higher up, the way your batting came through, even in the Caribbean Premier League, you were batting higher up and having a telling impact. Is it something that you have consciously done over the last couple of years? Or was it always part of the plan that I will be the best all-rounder?
I think it was always part of my journey. I've never neglected my batting. I thoroughly enjoy it. I feel as though it's a real strong point in my game. And, I just try to put as much focus into my batting as I do bowling. I think it's very important that I can contribute both the bat and ball in any side. It just adds value towards, any team. And then it adds values to my personal success, So, look, I just relish any opportunity I get with the bat. I really enjoy batting. Batting is probably my favorite suit within the game. So, look, whenever I get a chance to bat, I like to put my head down and try to capitalize on the opportunity.
I was speaking to VVS Lakshman and David Warner, and both of them tell me your contribution or being there out in the field as leader is also very important, because relatively youngish side, but you, Kane, David, part of the leadership group. Give me a sense of Jason Holder's leadership philosophy.
Well, for me, it's about buy-in. You've got to get players around you to buy into your plans. I think a strong leader has, strong support, and it's important that the guys rally around the captain, and for us here at SRH, it's really important that we rally around David, give him as much support as we possibly can. It doesn't necessarily mean that David has to be the ultimate decision maker. He's got a massive responsibility on his shoulders, and he needs people around him to help and support him. So that's where I guess myself, Kane, Johnny, Bhuvaneshwar, Sandeep Sharma for the Indian players at least. And then, people like Vijay Shankar who've all got international experience. Kedar Yadav, would obviously come into that fray as well. So he's got really good resources in terms of experience around him. It's just for us to come together as one and help him, get the best out of the players, one, and then help the franchise to obviously be successful.
So how does Jason Holder deal with pressure? You are expected to deliver in the power play. You are expected to deliver at the depth and then come bat 5 or 6 when the asking rate is creeping up and win a game. Help me decode Jason Holder's mind. How do you deal with pressure?
Well, for me, I try to take the end result out of the equation. It's something that I pretty much can't control unless I go through my process. And I've got simple philosophies in terms of the way I go about my game. My game is quite simple, so I just focus on what I need to do. Execution is very, very important. So with the ball, as you said, up front with the power play, you expect it to break the opposition open. So you got to get some wickets up front. So I think one of the attributes that I would use is swing. So I think swing plays a massive role. If there's no swing, but then you've just got to be as tight as you possibly can, because in limited overs cricket, dot balls and economy rates play a huge factor in getting wickets. So, just a simple process in terms of that. And I think execution in the death is very, very important. But for me, I think once I have that clarity, then execution becomes a lot easier. So I think the best death bowlers, the best bowlers with variation, are very, very clear with their skill sets, know what deliveries they want to bowl at any particular time. And then, execution is a lot clearer for them. And then with the bat, it's just breaking the game down, just trying to simplify the equation, try to simplify the scenario as best as they possibly can. One or two thoughts in my head at one particular time, no more than that. And it's just building a partnership. I think partnerships are very, very key in batting. So for me, it's just understanding the situation and what is required at that time, and then trying to form a really good partnership with my partner at the other end.
Questions, Jason, coming out of this one. Suppose you have an Abdul Samad or a Priyam Garg or one of those guys with you, relatively young, just come into the IPL setting, international cricket, or this level of cricket. And here is Jason Holder, been there, done that, captain of the West Indies. How do you mentor such a person? Because we all know they are bundles of talent. We've seen that with Samad and each of these guys. So give me a sense, when you have a talented youngster batting with you, what is it like?
I think the main thing is to give them the freedom to play the game that they want to play, but with giving them the freedom is more or less them understand the situation. But I think that's more or less my role, to help them understand the situation so that they can get the best out of themselves in that situation without limiting themselves. I think a lot of times, pressure comes, when you look too much at the end result. So for me, I just stay in the moment, stay in the process with them. And it's really important for me to instill that confidence in a young Priyam Garg or even a young Abdul Samad, because that's how you're going to get the best out of them. Give them the freedom, talk them up, give them that confidence and that surety that, yes, I'm backing you 100%, and we're clear about how we want to go about the specific scenario. So clarity for me is very, very important. And then giving them that confidence and freedom to perform their role.
From having seen the Sunrisers in the first game, and obviously it's the start of the tournament, in conditions where the ball is in swinging, Sandeep, Bhuvi, Nattu, all of them similar height. All of a sudden, if a Jason Holder come in, he's 6'6" and plus and gets the ball to bounce and steep. And all of a sudden, there is so much variation in that attack. Do you think, you can sort of make better use of the conditions and generate more bounce, and that can have an impact when it's not swinging, and that can help a bowler?
Yeah, it's definitely an asset to have. The trajectory that I come from is obviously a lot higher than a Bhuvaneshwar, Sandeep, maybe a Natarajan. But I think every bowler is unique in their own particular way. I'm not going to sit here and say I've got it all or they've got it all. Everybody has their unique nature of how they go about their cricket. And that's what brings together a strong bowling unit, a strong team, where you have individuals who vary or may have some kind of similarities, but, they're unique in their own way. And I think that's perfect for any balance of a team. It gives the captain options. If he wants, somebody to come hit the deck, then you've got somebody with height. If you want a really short, skiddy bowler, you got somebody like a Nattu. And then if you want swing, you got Bhuvaneshwar, Sandeep, and even myself can extract swing. So I think the attack is well versed. And yes, some conditions may favor me more than others, but then it balances itself off, when you go into other conditions which may favor other bowlers more than myself.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually sort of talking about the first 4 games and keeping in mind Chepauk, and it might just work more. Coming to a slightly different trajectory, Jason, is IPL 2021 slightly more important when you wear your West Indies hat? Because 6 months down the line, provided we can get COVID under control, which I think we will, because obviously the second wave is expected to peak in another month maximum, the World T20 is back in India and you will come back again. Same conditions, same set of players, almost the top international players are here, and you will be part of a different team, obviously the national team. How important is IPL from that standpoint, getting ready for the World T20?
If I be brutally honest, the World T20 is far out my mind. It's the furthest thing at this point in time for my mind. I think what's in front of me is important, and that's IPL cricket at this present time. For me to get to the World Cup, I've got to keep performing. So I think it's a waste of time me being caught up in the
Okay.
future, when I've got the present right in front of me. So I've got a lot of cricket to play potentially before the World T20, and I just want to take it stage by stage. I've played in India quite a few times over the years in different teams, different formats. So I've got that experience and knowledge of playing here. I wouldn't say I've conquered the conditions. So for me, this is a really good test for me, and I think I'm really, really much more skilled than I was before. Each year I've evolved and I've gotten better. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge this year at IPL, and hopefully I can get that opportunity and grab it with both hands.
How is IPL different, Jason? You've captained the Barbados side in the CPL. You've played in multiple parts of the world. A lot of people, for example, Rashid Khan tells me that the IPL made him a complete cricketer. The pressure is different. The glare is different. All of a sudden, everyone's talking about. How is the IPL different, or is it different at all for you?
Okay, it's the biggest T20 league in the world, and it comes without saying. There's a lot more money involved, and money. When you're paid a lot of money, people expect you to deliver. So there's that added pressure for some people, But for me personally, I think the cricket itself is very good. It's high quality cricket. But cricket is cricket, regardless of if you're playing in Mars, or if you're playing in India, or even in the Caribbean. What people tend to get caught up with is the actual moment, and we tend to put things in our brains that doesn't necessarily hold any relevance or substance, but it becomes a topic, and that's just how society is. So for me, I just like to take myself completely out of it. I haven't had that massive contract yet in IPL. So for me, I guess I haven't experienced, what playing under a heavy price tag would feel. But I would imagine that there is a little bit of pressure to deliver, but more often than not, the ones who've delivered under that pressure have been guys who stayed in the moment, who've really focused on, what is required from them at any particular time. And for me, that's just my mantra. That's just the way you got to play, stay in the moment, read the situation in the game well and execute. It's still bat and ball that we're using, and it's just the game of cricket that we love and we play. It's just, I guess, different scenarios, different scenery, different opposition, different teams.
Interesting you say that. I mean, that actually tells me, gives me a sneak peek into your thought process, because every time I've asked this question of people and I've tried to correlate economics with sport, and I've been told, we don't think of the price tag when we walk out. Is it a way to deflect pressure? Because obviously, if you've been paid a couple of $1 million, people will say, what's going on? You've got to give me results. And ultimately, we are all commodities at a certain level who are being consumed by people. So that's what I want to understand from you as leader, captain. People are, me, for example, think Jason Holder, best all-rounder in the world. Do these things at all play on people's mind like you, high-performance elite athletes?
Well, definitely not the tag that has been dubbed, I guess, one of the best all-rounders in the world. Doesn't play on my mind. Again, I would find it very strange for a player who's been bought for an exorbitant amount of money and not feel, I guess, initially a bit of pressure to deliver. Because what you don't want is to be downgraded or be left out the following year. So performance is always key. But the best players, find a way, and they find a way by simplifying the situation. So I feel the best way to go about it is to take the money out of the equation, and just focus on what is required from you at that particular time. There's always a role to play within the team, and you're going to be asked to play a role. So you just focus on that. Your priority should be your role. And whenever you cross the line, everything else goes through the chute, and you just take it one ball at a time. I've built this philosophy of one ball battles through a very good friend and coach, Monty Desai. So we've had tons of discussions about staying in the moment and taking it one ball at a time. And I love it because it's the simplest way to look at it. People get caught up with an overhead, when you're still in this moment here dealing with a particular over. So staying in the moment and deal with it one ball at a time. That's just my mantra.
Last three questions, Jason. One, in sport, especially in elite high performance sport, you will fail more often than you will win. That is only natural. Unfortunately, we tend to associate a Jason Holder or a David Warner or a Kane Williamson equal to success. That's not what it is the case. How does a Jason Holder deal with failure? Because in sport, it's unique in that you are failing in front of me, the whole world. When I, as an academic, fail, I fail in private. So I will moan in private and come back. But you will fail in front of me and again come back in front of me, in front of the world. How does Jason Holder deal with failure?
Acceptance is key. You've got to accept and that you've had a bad day, analyze, and come with solutions. When you've done wrong or you've not performed at your best, you think about it, you analyze where you went wrong, and then you just come with solutions. And then the next day, you just go back through the process. You can't bring it back, so there's no point in dwelling on it. But I think reflection is key. You've got to be able to honestly sit down, analyze your performance, and be very, very honest at where you went wrong. And then for me, once you accept that, then you can easily move forward. The moment you try to hide behind a failure and bring excuses, for me, the longer it lingers with you. So I feel acceptance is very, very important. Accept that you've gone wrong, you haven't, hit your mark, you haven't been at your best, and you find ways to come back stronger. And finding ways to come back stronger just means a solution, and it just may be a tweak in terms of a technical, from a technical standpoint, or maybe a tactical error that plagued you in that particular moment. So, you just put it behind you, accept it, and then to me, the next day is key. Just starting your processes right over and going through, what you deem as your routine.
Second last one, as I said, Jason, last year we were also very, very focused and thankfully so on using sport to make important statements to the world. When you played at Southampton, all of us were using Jason Holder to tell the world that we have to fight inequality, whether it is Black Lives Matter, whether it is inequality at a certain different plane. Look at our world with vaccine nationalism, for example. Richer nations are consuming all of the vaccine stocks, leaving our world poorer. Do you think sport is the perfect platform to reach out maximum number of people in getting a better world, a more equal world, a more positive world?
I think sport has a big part to play in it, because we're seen on the big stage, in front of millions or billions of people, but it's not the end all be all. I think it's a collective, wherever you go, you've just got to keep spreading the word and building that initiative. And I think what has to continuously happen is education. You've got to be in a position where you educate your peers, educate your partners, and just make sure that the awareness is always there. It must be at the forefront of your mind more often than not. And it should become second nature. You shouldn't have to think too hard about whether you're being racial or if if there's any inequality in whatever facet of life which may be prevalent to you. So I just feel as though the more we educate one another about certain situations, certain philosophies, certain ways of living, I think the better off we would be as a people. Definitely sports personalities, celebrities have a really good platform via social media because it is where the most eyes are in terms of viewership. So, if you've got that presence and you've got that stature, then I believe you should use it, but use it wisely. I don't feel as though it should be an attack on anyone or any entity in any negative way. I mean, there will be times where you have to put your foot down and just write home a point. But then I'm a solution-oriented person, and I think us as people, we get so caught up with the actual problem and highlighting the actual problem, but where are the solutions? So I would much rather prefer people say, well, look, yeah, this is a problem. I have an issue with this, but these are a couple of solutions as to how I feel we can change it. And if we have more solution-oriented people, then I think the world itself would be in a better place rather than people who cry down or run or jump on a bandwagon to display or portray the actual problem.
Fascinating. Last one, Jason. What is the legacy that you want to leave behind as a cricketer? Is it that you want to leave behind a legacy as a leader, that here's one who prepared the best, tried his best, put in his 100%, was always honest and full of integrity? What is the legacy that Jason Holder wants to leave behind as a cricketer?
For me, I just want to remember it for being a game changer, and a game changer on and off the field. Personal accolades, yes, you feel a sense of pride, but I just don't think is the pinnacle or it's the end all be all for me. Like, you can be the best batsman in the world, but you know, how many games have you won for your team? You know, how many people have you impacted along the way? How have you paved the way for the next generation? And those are, to me, are more important questions, because this sport has to live on. This sport was here before us, and it will be here after us. So for me, I feel more inclined to leave a legacy where I know that this game could be carried on, but evolved. You know, it's no point me coming into the game at a particular point and leaving it at the same point. You know, I must make an impact positively to change the game and evolve it. You know, and I think that's where my legacy lies. You know, I've had success, yes, and I've enjoyed it. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And if I had to do it all back over again, I'd do it the same way. But I feel as though I've got a massive part to play in terms of evolving this game that we love. And that's the legacy that I really want to live.
Yes, and all I will say at the end is I've been privileged enough to interview a lot of your colleagues and peers and, you know, leading cricketers from the past and present. I will tell you this, I enjoyed this conversation. You are good for the game. Stay the way you are. Leave a legacy that you and I will be proud of. 20 years, 30 years later, people will be proud of. And we will remember Jason Holder as a top cricketer, more importantly, as a top human being. Thank you very much for speaking to me. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I did enjoy it as well.
Thank you so much.